Good afternoon, everybody. This is Frank Messina, and I'd like to welcome you to the April 6, 2021 meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission. We have some administrative announcements. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman now. Hearing none, thank you very much. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law 30A-18, and the Governor's March 23, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately address the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while it is in progress may doing so by calling the number 508-945-4410. Conference ID 411-454-903 #. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access, and we will post the record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. The meetings are being conducted via a roll call process just to validate each decision of the board. And we ask all participants and citizens participating to call in for their name and the last 4 digits of their phone number for identification purpose. After an agenda item is being discussed by the public body, requests from citizens and non-board members to make comments and questions certainly will be allowed when recognized by the chair. We run a relatively informal meeting and like to make everybody happy. Okay, the first item of business is a roll call. Mr. Lear?
I'm here.
Sandy Porter?
Present.
Ben Solinsky?
Here.
Stephanie Hamilton?
Here.
Jane Moffitt?
Here.
Don Aikman? Absent. Steve Burlingame? Absent. Erica? Absent. Okay, just a little bit of administrative before we run into the minutes. We do have a quorum and we can proceed. My term is up and I'm received notice to be interviewed. The 2 alternates, Steve and Erica, will also be reviewed. Sandy, I believe you're up and you've made your wishes known relative to the alternate position, and I have notified Selectman Castro of that decision, and and I think it should proceed smoothly if that is your decision. And then Erica also. So that just it from an administrative point of view. Nothing else I wanted to pass along. The process is the alternates are interviewed every year, in addition to the regular members every 3 years. Okay, we have minutes from the previous meeting, and I'd like to thank Mr. Lear for helping out the last couple of meetings, and I appreciate that. So we have minutes of March 16, 2021. Everybody, I'm sure, received a copy and has had time to review it. Any comments, corrections, additions, deletions?
Frank, it's Bob. I have a suggestion. I will defer to Ms. Porter on this, but the top of the second page and application 49 Doan Road, it says the motion was made by Mr. Lear, and I believe it was made by Ms. Porter at my suggestion. And it was that the building is not historically significant. But Sandy, do you recall that?
Yes, I do, Bob. You are correct, Bob.
So what are you saying? What is
Suggest
incorrect? That the building is not historically significant?
Well, added that the motion was made by Ms. Porter and that and ongoing in that line, that the building is not historically significant.
Okay. Michelle, you got that?
Yes, Frank, thank you.
Okay. Any other corrections? Hearing none, can I have a motion to accept the minutes as modified?
I so moved, Bob.
I'll second Steph.
Thank you, Stephanie. We will do a roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes,
Jane,
Yes.
and the chair abstains. I was absent. Thank you very much. Okay, we have two applications. And what I'm going to do is address the second one first, so we can remove that and then move on to 144055 Queen Anne Road. The application 21006, we have a request from the applicant of 305 Main Street to continue the continuance, if you will, to May 4th. I think this is prudent on their part. This is a significant application of a National Register National Register subject contributing structure in the National Register District. So hopefully they have are attempting to modify their plans in such a way that could be acceptable to the commission and avoid referral to the Cape Cod Commission. So at this particular point, Mr. Lear, can you give me a motion to accept the continuance?
Yes, I move that application 21-00, well, one says 9 and one, no, I'm sorry, 006, be continued until May 4th, 2021.
This is Sandy, I'll second.
Thank you, Sandy. Okay, we'll do a roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes.
Ben,
Abstain.
you're abstaining from the continuance?
Yeah, we've been hashing this over and I voted.
I'm sorry, Ben, it's a little difficult to hear you.
I said, we've been hashing this over from meeting to meeting to meeting and I agreed with the initial plan. So, to just for me to say yes, to do the same thing over again, I'm abstaining.
Okay, Ben, I understand. I just wanted to ask, no problem.
All right.
Ben, it's a little difficult to hear you. So does everybody else have a problem with Ben?
yes.
Yeah, Ben,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
something with your microphone. So
How's that? Can you hear me better now?
a little bit better, yeah. Okay, Stephanie,
All right.
Yes,
Jane,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, so we will continue this to 5-4. Thank you, Ben.
All right.
All right, getting down to business. We have an application 21009, 1455 Queen Anne Road, be heard in accordance with Chapter 158, the demolition delay bylaw. And we have with this application I believe, yes, there is a Form B with the application. And kind of a very interesting application. And we have Miss Shauna Reeves, who's the owner and the applicant. Do you want to give a few words about your application and we'll discuss it?
Sure, I'd be happy to. This is Shauna Reeves. My architect is also on this call, Angus McLeod. He might better address the application, but basically I am moving a couple windows and doors and hoping to move a couple windows and doors and add a couple dormers onto the building. Using all wood, historically appropriate replacement materials, and balancing out aesthetically the placement of the windows at the house.
Okay.
If I may add,
do you mind-
Mr. Chair, it's Angus.
I'm sorry, who's speaking?
This is Angus McLeod. I just wanted to say I'm available to come out at any point, and when it's appropriate, I'd be happy to speak.
Okay, a little trouble hearing if you can get closer to your microphone, but, all right,
Is
let me
that
just,
better?
yeah, that's better. Okay, hopefully, all the members of the commission have had an opportunity to drive by. Shauna, what we normally do is have a site visit, with the, at the site, but because of COVID, we do it individually. I personally happen to be very familiar with the property and must pass it hundreds of times a week. And can I ask a couple of questions just quickly?
Of course.
Do you live in Chatham?
No, I live in Brookline.
Okay, are you making this a seasonal resident? And this is not germane. I'm sorry to be, inquisitive, but I am.
Oh,
It's
that's all right.
is-
Yeah, this is going to be a second home. I don't plan on renting it. I have 2 teenage boys, and I'm hoping that we can spend a lot of time there.
Great. Have you
Yeah.
have you been to Chatham before, or is this the first time for you?
No, I've been to Chatham. I love Chatham. It's beautiful. I love the antique homes, and I love the nature, all the conservation and all the coast.
Well, given the current real estate environment, I think it's probably a good catch. And it's a beautiful little house. So,
Oh, thank you. It's a big project, but I've been looking for something like this for years.
well, it's great. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is not completely dominate the conversation. I'm going to open it up to members on questions or observations. Mr. Lear?
Sorry, Mr. Riley isn't listening, but I would give it an attaboy. When I first saw it, I thought it was going to be a complete demolition, and I very much praised Mrs. Reeves for wanting to fix it up and maintain it.
Right. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. As I said, I pass that area a lot, and I worry about those 2 or 3 houses there that have been in disrepair. And if you notice, just a quick aside, I have on our agenda demolition by neglect property maintenance bylaw review, but that's another story. Okay. I don't think there's any question in your mind either relative to the historical significance of the property, Bob.
No, it's certainly, well, it's definitely got the age and it's got the family history to it.
Right. Sandy?
No, I don't have a problem with the historical significance of it.
Okay. Ben?
No,
Stephanie?
Nope.
Jane?
No, I think it's wonderful that she wants to save it.
Great. All right. I do have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Sorry to be a nitpicker, but I will. I'm glad to see that you're saving both chimneys and the fireplace.
Mhm.
And so they're in good enough condition that you think you can be able to just use them as is?
Oh, no, I did hear that so the chimney that's in the kitchen, which is, I guess that is the west elevation, the one that you can see to the right of the dormer on that plan. So it's not the one on the, exactly. That chimney is not in use. That goes through the kitchen. And then the other chimney is for the fireplace, which I hope to get working. I did hear from the contractor it needs to be repointed, but that was it. And other than that, they both were in good shape.
Well, the second chimney from the kitchen, are you going to keep it?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
All right. Just want to make sure we're into chimneys, this historical commission. And because when you have a house from 1800s, guess what? They had chimneys. Okay.
I should mention the architect who's on the line, Angus, who's also a good friend of mine, is on the historical commission on Nantucket. He works in Nantucket mostly, and he's really involved with historical renovations. So I'm hoping with his help, to do it as historically accurate as I can.
Mr. McLeod, so you're on the Nantucket Historical Commission?
I am, and I'm advisor to the Historic District Commission, both for Sconset and the Historic Structures Advisory Board in Nantucket. And I love this old cottage, and it needed some TLC. As I'm reviewing plans on Nantucket, often structures like this are slated for demolition, and that's what scared the hell out of me out of seeing the application saying partial or complete demolition. And when I called Shauna to check about that, it really was in reference to taking out the replacement windows and replacing them with historically appropriate configurations and windows. But all to say, I so appreciate Shauna's sensibility in appreciating the structure for what it is and not wanting to change it significantly. And chimneys, I am often reviewing applications where people want to remove the chimneys because they want big open floor plans. And I'm relieved again that that Shauna is interested in keeping all of the character and as many parts of the structure intact as possible.
Well, I think we're in violent agreement as far as chimney's concerned, and I think this particular board, we tend to be pretty hard over that. If you've got to, you want to remove the interior chimney, fine, but you're going to leave the exterior chimney. We do kind of loosen up a bit, where if it's from a structural point of view, if there are alternate materials, I hate to say it, I often tell people when they try to go a bit overboard, I said, look, we're not Nantucket. This is not a whole town's not an historical district. So your ears must be ringing, and I say it in a very positive way, but still, I'm familiar with Nantucket, sail over there quite often. And anyway, but you guys have a good reputation. I guess you have a good reputation if you're into historic preservation. If you're an attorney or a homeowner, you may not have a good reputation. So
I wish that were the case. I'm glad that's still the outward image, but I wish we were living up to that image. Unfortunately, we have a historic district commission now that is letting our guidelines slip a bit. So it's a little embarrassing how much history is getting carted to the dump these days.
Yeah, well, it's a battle. Okay, for the chimneys was my first question, and so if I understood the narrative and the point, you're going to attempt to 12 by 12 in most or if not all cases for the windows.
It appeared that the oldest windows were 12 over 12. And so that's why that configuration is being used in similar window openings. But then, like on the porch, that was a later addition. The 6 over 6 seemed more appropriate than the 2 over 1.
I have no problem
so it's
with
kind
that.
of
yeah. Okay. The one other question I noticed is in your drawing, Mr. McLeod, is the elevation on the east elevation. Your diagram shows a different configuration than the windows that are actually there.
on the east.
Unless I'm misreading it.
So underneath the main gable, there's a triple casement window that exists now, and that is obviously not historic.
No, I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you, sir. I apologize.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Now I'm looking, if you look at the drawing on the east elevation, I think it's the east elevation, and then I'm looking at the photograph that you provided, the east elevation, and it's a window configuration where it's a who's that, Allie?
Cute. Yeah. So that triple casement window is
that's not it.
Okay.
Allie, it was the first picture that he provided. It was It says east elevation dated 3/7/21.
Frank, it's Ally. Michelle sharing her screen.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
That obviously is Michelle's granddaughter.
No, yes, that's my granddaughter. I'm sorry. I
That-
have, this is the east elevation, Frank, the photograph of the east elevation.
No, the one that shows the chimney, the fireplace. Keep
Oh,
going.
okay.
There you
we
go.
Yep.
All right, stop there. Mr. McLeod, you see what I'm talking about?
Yes, and that's the way we want them to remain.
Okay, and well, the reason I'm commenting is that if you don't mind, if you could change that drawing to reflect it, because
Yes, I've spoken with the mill worker who we were going to order the windows from, and we had already talked about that was a drawing version of a typo.
Okay, the reason I'm going to ask you to change the drawing, I'm trying to not be too much of a stickler, is that what we do in Chatham is effectively, I will sign off on these drawings, assuming it's going to be approved. And then the building department will, when you go for your building permit, with your final drawings, they'll check one against the other. And if it doesn't agree, then it's going to be a little hiccup. And I'm trying to avoid that.
Thank you.
So I guess if you just quickly update that and get it back to Michelle, it'll make things go a lot easier.
I'll make the corbelling on the chimney more accurate as well.
Yes, okay, and I did have one other question. No, I think that was it. I don't have any problem with the new openings, et cetera. Very consistent. Again, Mr. Lear commented up front about an attaboy, and I think we really do appreciate what you're doing on this home, Shauna.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
So I think we seem to have consensus, gentlemen and ladies. So we need two motions. First motions relative to the historical significance. Bob?
Yep. I move the Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building located at 1455 Old Queen Anne Road is historically significant because it is in whole or in part 75 years old or more. It is associated with one or more historical persons in the social history of the town of Chatham.
I will second, Steph.
Thank you, Steph. Okay, no other comments from the members of the public? All right, roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes,
Ben,
Yes,
Stephanie,
Yes,
Jane,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. Thank you very much. Okay, we needed a second application relative to demolition delay.
All right, the Chatham Historical Commission also finds the proposed work to be done dated February 26, 2021 will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
second, Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Any member of the public wish to speak for or against the application? Hearing none. A roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Sandy,
yes,
Ben,
yes,
Steph,
yes.
Jane,
Yes,
chair votes yes. Well, thank you very much. And again, we really do appreciate your care for this this lovely cottage. I would tell you that this house it's called the Bassett House. There is almost as many Bassets in Chatham as there are Nickersons. And I live down on in South Chatham off Cockle Cove, and where there's a small Bassett cemetery. So it's nice to see this home preserved. Thank you very much.
I will
Thank
say
you.
bravo too.
Thank you, Frank.
Okay. And Ms. McLeod, nice to meet you. Hopefully our paths will cross soon.
I hope so too. Thank you so much.
All right,
Take care.
great. Thank you very much. Okay, we have, moving right along, we have a number of items, new business, and I just wanted to comment on that, if I may. Demolition by neglect, property maintenance review. We had that under issues on hold due to COVID limitations. And I brought it up forward into new business because when I finally got myself back into the swing of things and had a long conversation with Miss Donovan, Katie, our director, about the property maintenance issues in town as it relates to historic homes. Now, we did a couple of things. We had looked at a listserv, and Michelle did, and we got a copy of an ordinance from Orleans. Orleans has a property maintenance bylaw specifically to homes which are on the National Register. And I think we were looking to go a bit further than that. In other words, in this home, I think we have is a good example. And of course, 26 Cockle Cove Road is another example, which unfortunately, because the commission voted to allow it to be demolished, is about to be demolished soon in the National Register District. So Katie has agreed to take on an assignment. Not that I delegate up, but I asked her if, and she volunteered, by the way. And so she's going to do some investigation, via the listservs with the Historical Commission, the Mass Historic, and other communities to see what other towns are doing. Because quite honestly, although we're concerned about it from an historical preservation point of view, the town of Chatham, specifically community development, which is under Katie's purview, really would be enforcing anything that we put together. So if any one member of the commission would like to take this on and just work with Miss Donovan, to move this along, I would appreciate it. Don't see a lot of hands up, but think about it. It would be nice if one member of the commission just kind of leads this effort with Katie.
Frank, my hand is up, Steph.
Oh, Steph, I'm sorry.
You had asked me to look into this a while ago.
Yes.
And I've been cutting out articles in the paper.
Great.
And it seems like there are a lot of other districts that are right with us.
Okay.
And they said, one of the things I noticed, they said, it's very easy to get a house in that condition.
Right.
And Falmouth and Eastchester and Sandwich are all working on this also.
Great. Steph, I got a little fog in the brain here, but I knew somebody who was doing it. I couldn't remember. So if you don't mind, when you have, get some time, if you could touch base with Katie and Michelle and, just coordinate, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel of the work that you've already done, but that would be helpful in putting information together.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Steph. Okay. Moving on to old business. The the proposed zoning bylaw for enhancing historic preservation. The last time I guess I was with you, Ally quickly presented where she was with the actual proposed bylaw changes and some graphics from the that were done through the assistance of Sarah Korjeff and the Cape Cod Commission. And, I'm trying to dust off my head a bit and ask Ally to do that again. I think where we are with bylaw, we were kind of anxious and hoped to get it to this town meeting, but I think with COVID and everything else going on in our lives, Ally and I and Katie agreed that it's too much of a push for this particular town meeting, but we would like to proceed in earnest. And along with that, Ally has arranged meetings with the ZBA and the planning board. So Ally, I think I got it right. If you could throw up on the screen what we have, I'd appreciate it. Oh, one other thing, I had taken an action before my life changed to get in touch with stakeholders in the community. And I still am doing. It's on my to-do list of things to do. And by that, I'm going to take what Ally has done and share it with some of the attorneys who have a lot of, input to the commission. For instance, Mr. Litchfield, who was one of the first to suggest something like this and to get some input. Ally?
Thanks, Frank. Sorry, I was just trying to share my screen. Took me a
No
while
problem.
to get back. Um, yeah, no, I think you did a perfect job doing the explanation on kind of where we are. I have set up a meeting with the Zoning Board of Appeals. I had originally sent them the draft bylaw, which we had discussed, I believe, last month, and made some final tweaks to it. And then we also received, as Frank said, the drawing that I have up on the screen now that kind of shows and gives an explanation of what the incentive bylaw could be and how it could be used. And so we thought that was we really wanted this drawing so that we could include it with the bylaw because we thought it would be very helpful as we go forward. So I sent this and the draft bylaw to the Zoning Board of Appeals for preliminary comment. I actually did receive some back from one member, but we were also invited to go on the 22nd of April to the ZBA's meeting. So I'm hoping that maybe Frank or another member of the commission could come with me if you are available. And we'll
Yes.
just kind of, okay, great. And we'll just
Excuse
kind of
me.
give a
What time?
brief-
What time, Ally? On the 20th.
That's a great question.
Okay,
can
when
just
you
look-
find out.
Yeah, I can look quickly at my calendar.
I think it's 4 o'clock when they normally start their meetings.
I believe you're correct. I want to make sure before before I
That's
say
all
it.
right. And the planning board?
And then the planning board, I'm still working with Catherine on a date just because we have some big agenda items that are coming up in our next two meetings. But I'm hoping to target the 26th of April for that. But I need to confirm with the chair.
Okay. What, Ally, if I may ask, there are some members of the public listening in. Can you take us through this rather slowly, the diagram, and explain it?
Sure, yeah. So this is just a diagram of that hopefully explains our historic preservation incentive bylaw. So basically what this is right here, this top row, I'll start here first. It basically says, it shows the by right coverage if the historic building is not preserved. So that's the blue. If you can see it up here, the blue. And so basically this would be what is allowed under our current bylaw. So if a building was to be built today on a vacant lot, what they would be allowed as building coverage. This here is the by right building coverage multiplied by a factor of no greater than 1.5 if the historic building is preserved in its entirety. So basically
Okay. Ally, let me interrupt you. Going back to the blue.
Yep.
So what you're picturing here is not necessarily an existing house, but you're picturing a house with that square footage. That's the footprint. If they did demolish the house, what they could put there?
That's correct. Or it could be an existing house that, isn't already over its building coverage. So it could be an existing home that's met its building coverage. That's all it would be allowed to be built on the site.
So what you have one on the left and one on the right. What's the difference?
They're just different configurations of the structure just to show kind of two examples.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then, so going on to the second row, this shows one of our proposed incentives, which is allowing additional building coverage on the property if you're preserving the historic structure completely. So that's what we have here is the historic building. So that's in white. If you look at the key up here, the historic building, and then additional building coverage that would be allowed with the preservation. And so you can see that there's, a little structure on the back here on this first diagram in pink or red that shows what you could be allowed additionally if you preserve the historic structure. And then the same thing on the diagram on the right, the white is the historic structure, and then the red is the additional building coverage that you would be allowed. And again, it's just the same as this top row here. We just wanted to show different configurations about how this could occur.
Well, I think it's really good. And, I'd like to ask members of the commission, if they have any questions relative to understanding this way to show this, rather than the words. Anybody got any comments? Yes, no, maybe? I don't understand it.
I like it.
Good. Thank you, Ben. All right. Okay. I'm sorry, Ally. Why don't you proceed?
No, so that's really the explanation of the diagram. We obviously do have, another incentive that is incorporated in this bylaw as well, which is the setback incentive. And I think the last time I showed this, Bob stated that, this one on the right could be an example of how we could use that portion of the incentive for the setback. So if this structure here, this new structure, say it was imposing on the setback, this would show kind of an allowance of that here as well. It's not, written next to the, these diagrams, which we could do in the future if we thought it would be helpful, but we thought this was kind of like a good, clean, easy way to just show the public and the boards and whoever's going to view it kind of how this incentive could be used.
Okay, very good. I guess the words are what the latest ones have, which reflect this. So, all right, I think we're in pretty good shape, Ally, at least for the zoning and for the planning board to move it along. Hopefully, I'll get some input back from stakeholders, and then we could decide in the spring, summer, if we want to hold any larger public meetings on the subject. Okay.
That sounds great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay. Next item.
Frank?
Sorry. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Jane, can I interrupt for a second? Just because I got a text from Ellen Briggs, and she wants to have Stephanie's information because she's planning to do a short film on demolition by neglect.
She wants Stephanie to do what?
She would like Stephanie to contact her. This is Ellen Briggs.
Yeah, all right. So we'll deal with that offline.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, I got you. Thank you very much, Shane.
What to do? I just got
Okay.
a text.
I'm sorry.
I just got a text. I didn't know what to do.
Okay. Well, we'll deal with it. Okay, let's proceed because we've got a time constraint here with a couple of members. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the U.S. Coast Guard Boathouse. I think we all can exhale a little bit. I think you all know the Mr. Doherty and our meeting, our preservation committee has done a lot of work and been working very hard here over the last 15 years to try and make this happen. I still remember when Don Aiken and myself got a call from Stuart Smith about the boathouse, and then contacted Dave Doherty contacted it, and we formed that little committee, 15 years ago, I guess, or whatever it was, 10 years ago. So the historical commission has been involved with this for many, many years, and it's been just something that we know should the right thing to do. So we're not there yet, but we certainly have the select board agreeing for the adaptive reuse, and finally CPC agreeing to fund it. And long story short, the way this is working out is the town has agreed to accept it, and there's an MOA between the town of Chatham and the Preservation Association, with the understanding that the association will move it back to Chatham, and that's what the CPC funds are about, CPA funds. So hopefully we'll get a positive vote at town meeting. It's hard for me to believe the town of Chatham is going to turn that down. So having said that, I think we ought to just be comfortable that we've got it this far. It's taken a long time. So thank you very much.
I wasn't sure we were going to get this far, Frank.
Yeah, all right, and right, and Steph, thank you very much. I do appreciate your speaking up, and I think the task we have, those of us involved with the preservation and Dave Doherty's committee, is to find some potential source of funding, other funding. Now, the decision we have to make as a commission, and I'm not looking for a decision now, is we did the Form B. We got the town to give us a few $100 to have Eric prepare it. We never submitted it to the Mass Historic Commission because, quite honestly, it didn't make any sense to submit it if the boathouse wasn't in Chatham. So now that it is, quotes, in transit potentially in the next year or two, I have a call into Eric Dre and then to Sarah Korjeff to see what the next action. By getting Mass Historic Commission to concur if its eligibility as a National Register property, it would enhance significantly our opportunities for preservation grants. And so that's something that we have to work on with the town. Like to publicly thank Dr. Duncanson for all the work he's done and making it happen. All right. Any other comments on that? Oh, good. Moving along. Preservation awards, we're moving along. We've got about 90% of the work done, mostly by Michelle and Ellie at the Historical Society. And we're all set for May 16th, 3 p.m. Please put that on your calendar. Your members are myself and Sandy, and we're working on final notification of the 5 awardees. What I'll send you tomorrow after I meet with Michelle is the boards which Michelle has done showing the 5 properties which will be receiving the awards for 2000. Well, it's actually the awards for 2020 and 2021. Very simply, it's the 54 Summerhill Lane, which was the house, which is probably one, if not the oldest house in Chatham, which originally was on Shore Road, overlooking the fish pier, which was replaced by the most ugliest house in town. Thank you. So it's the Freeman Smith house, and that's the Melinda and Charles Martson. Of course, Ellen Briggs Windmill Cottage, which was the commission working hard to save that with Ellen, and we appreciate Miss Briggs. 7 Old Harbor Lane, which was the Pitts house, Bonnie and Philip Rosenthal. That was a really nice job done by SV Design. And the 685 Old Harbor Road, which was William Atkinson house, Gail and Peterson Johnson, which was a really nice house. With the barn in the back, which was restored. And last but not least was Starboard Light, 154 Champlain Road, with Joanna and Bob Moss, who, God bless them, had the fortitude to outlast the owner in coming up with a good way to save that house. So we've got some really interesting awards on the 16th. And again, it'll be via Zoom because of the COVID. Next item on the agenda was review the application process for submission requirements to the Historical Commission.
Frank,
Yes, ma'am.
Frank,
Yes.
excuse me, it's Sam. Question I have. We have a meeting on the 16th of April at 9:30, a Zoom meeting. Ellie's setting it up. Am I correct, Michelle? I think that's when it is.
Yeah, we have a meeting on the April 16th.
Right. At 9:30?
Yeah, I think the last time the committee met, Frank, you were absent, and I think they decided that a month before would be a good time to rally around and make sure everything was buttoned up.
What time?
I think
9:30.
9:30.
Yeah.
I can't
Sends out notices.
I can't make that. Did she send out the thing already?
No, not yet.
No.
But if we need to change it, we can change it. No worries.
Yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow, okay?
Sure.
Uh,
Okay, my question, Frank, is, how are we going to do, people usually present, we'll talk about it at the meeting. Please include me in
Yes, we'll
that,
talk
okay?
about it. Sorry to cut you off a bit. I wanted to move things along, Sandy, but I'm meeting tomorrow with Ellie and Kevin and Michelle, and we're going to discuss the process, and then we'll decide how the presentations are going to be made. I don't, just a quick aside, I don't see any reason why we cannot have each individual member or some members make the presentations. Is that your question, Sandy?
Okay, I just wondered how, yes, that was just one of my questions. Yep, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Michelle? Did I lose you?
No, I'm sorry, Frank. I couldn't get there fast enough. I'm sorry. Yes, how can I help?
Well, the next item is the
Oh.
application process. I finally went through it, I'll be honest with you. Hopefully other members of the commission have looked at the attachment that Michelle gave you, what she has there, and the major changes are not so much in the application per se, but in the instructions. So I'm going to shut up for a second. Does anybody have any questions or comments or on the items in red which change the instructions? Silence. Did you read it?
Frank, I gave Michelle a little feedback earlier. She's, I'm fine with it.
Okay. Well, we do have a couple of minutes before we have to run. Michelle, just a couple observations on my part.
Sure.
I have a little bit of comment or a little bit of concern relative to, and this is something you and I can do offline, but the comments relative to not required but strongly urged. I'd like to go over that with you relative to what we want and providing options to people. You know, to me, it's like when you have a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old child, you don't ask them, what do you want for dinner? They'll tell you. So I kind of want to make it, this is it. You're getting lamb chops, whether you like it or not. I want to talk about that. And I believe I understand why you've done that, but I just don't want, I want to make this a little bit clearer and simpler from that point of view. That was the one thing. For instance, the Form B, if available, you know, if we let them pull the Form B, I would like to make sure that you, when I say we, it's you all the time, you know, we are sure we have the latest Form B. So you and I can talk about that, you know, how to word that. The assessor's field card. I mean, I'm not trying to make work for you, Michelle.
No, I understand. And generally speaking, on the subject of Form B, people will call or email me and ask me if there is one. Yeah. And I will research it for them on Macris. And if there is one, I will share it with them.
Okay.
I've just asked them to include it as part of their application because the commission relies on that information when a submittal is presented.
Okay. Bob, I'd be interested in what your comments were or what area.
We're just some minor internal references there. I mean, the content is, I think I said it at the last meeting, it seems to me that this covers areas that Michelle has often mentioned to me about applicants are giving her a hard time about why do I have to do, and
okay.
And you could easily get it back. You don't do it, but it relieves her of having to explain. those things, and they're all there. I don't see anything onerous there. I don't think anybody in the commission's going to say, no, we don't want that.
Okay. All right. Michelle, you and I will talk about a couple of things and then we can probably finalize it. All right.
Sure, of course.
You know, one thing I noticed on the actual application where you made that small change about A, you know, one of the things that it's been wrong, the and/or application for a substantial alteration. You know, if you read the law, it's a substantial alteration to a National Register property. We have 21 homes in Chatham, which are on the National Register of Historic Places. And technically, if any change to a National Register property, you know, has to come before the Historical Commission. So we could talk about that too. It's
Okay.
something we've been missing. For instance, the library, you know, that's National Register. The Railroad Museum, you know, the Brick House, which is my favorite, which is a terrible repair. So anyway, so we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Let me move on here quickly because I know you got to go. The next item, if there's no other members, is current status of the administrative review. We had no request for administrative review, so but just in general, that process seems to be working pretty well from Michelle's perspective, and I believe from myself, Bob Lear, and Don, who have helped fill in my absence. So I think it's continued to work. There was a question about I believe from the previous meeting, the actual application. Were there questions? Michelle provided it in the post. If there are no questions, we could actually formally approve that. Anybody have any questions?
This is
I
Steph.
move
speaking.
approval of it.
Wait a minute, this is Steph speaking. I find it not clear enough.
Oh, all right.
Well, could you be a little more specific?
Some of the things I was afraid couldn't be understood clearly by the public. I don't have it in front of me right now. I had it last time.
Okay. So are you saying an introduction to make it clearer why we're doing this?
I'm saying some of the steps mentioned in forms and things that were needed that weren't explicit as to what they were.
So, excuse me, Steph, are you talking about the application or the administrative review form?
Administrative review.
Okay.
Did you send that to Michelle?
I talked to her about it in the last meeting.
I'm sorry, Steph, I don't recall. So maybe we could discuss off.
I'll talk to you about it.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Thank
Okay,
you, Steph. If we could do that, we can put this away. Michelle, one question I do have on the application, you know, your not the actual form, but in your the beginning of it, you know, when somebody comes to the your office, so to speak, you know, how do they know there's an administrative review process? You explain it to them.
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
when people come and when they call or they want to talk about what their proposed project is, you know, depending on the scope of work, I will suggest the administrative review process if I think it's something that fits the situation. And there have only been one out of the last 5 or 6 that didn't pass muster. The others were all approved and went through, I think, without a big deal. So
Now we have, excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We have in our rules and reg, we put something in about the administrative review process.
We did, and those 3 bullet points that are on the top portion of the application are those 3 situations where.
All right.
someone's idea of a minor alteration and my idea of a minor alteration could be
No,
very
that's fine.
different.
That's fine. I'd rather keep it in, I don't want to be that specific. All right, I'm okay. And if you speak with Seth, the one comment I had, or one question, Michelle, is where you say on the third bullet of your process, dimensional legible 11 by 17 plans. I mean, we're not asking for 11-17 plans. We're saying, minimal size 11 by 17.
I'm not following you.
There's 3 bullets.
Yes.
And the third one reads dimension and legible
Yes.
11 by 17. In other words, what you really mean there is no smaller than 11 by 17.
Yeah. So in my head, I really didn't think that 18 by 24 or 24 by 36 were necessary. Those are the larger plans.
Yes.
But I wanted them to be large enough and the numbers and the measurements and the dimensions to be large enough to be able to be read clearly by myself and whoever else is doing the review.
Well, can I suggest you add the words minimal size 11 by 17?
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, if you prefer to have bigger plans,
you do, you're the one who's primarily doing it, okay, in terms of review. But if somebody has, 18 by 24, that's what they have,
Oh, yeah. Okay, I understand what you're saying. So the minimum size we will accept is 11 by 17.
Got it.
Okay, I got you.
Good.
Thank you.
Great. All right. Moving right along. This discussion of demolition delays. Everybody has it. Where are we? Salt Pond Road, Seaview Street is going to expire this June.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to hold on to our hat and see what happens there. Salt Pond Road, that one that's the one out on the water, right? Yep.
Uh-huh.
And they have an ad. No takers on that, right, Michelle?
I haven't heard of any, but I can check with Attorney Ford. I believe he represented the applicant.
Yeah. 107. Sorry. Go ahead. Who's that?
And I'm the one who had the person who was interested in it, and I will check with her. She's been walking down there, and she hasn't said that she doesn't want it, but I'll get an answer.
Yeah, well, she's got to move quickly.
She knows it.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Jane.
I'm doing my best.
And I appreciate it. There'll be a little extra in your paycheck for all the good work you do. 107 Seaview Street. Help me there. Which one is that? Yeah. Okay. All right. I got to remind myself.
Look, I can't remember, honestly.
All right. But there's been no action. And Barnhill Road?
Nope. Nothing there either.
Nothing there. Okay. So Shattuck Place, nothing happened, right?
Yes, they issued the
okay, got it.
for demolition on March 10th.
Right. Yeah, 310. Okay, I read it. I read it incorrectly.
No
Okay.
worries.
I have a question, Frank, on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Has it been demolished yet, or what's the deal with that? Sounds like one thing is proceeding, it's sort of backwards.
Well, the building permit,
a demolition, but not for new construction, or what?
Well, the demolition permit was issued on 310 this year. The delay expired in 2019. They put an application for demolition in on 310. But you're right. They did submit a new application for construction. All right, but it has not been issued as of March 30th. So they submitted the application, but it wasn't yet issued. You can submit an application at any time.
Is it still standing?
Say again?
Is it still standing?
Yes, because the demolition Oh, no, I don't know. The demolition permit was issued on March 10th. I don't know if it was or was not demolished yet.
Mm.
I haven't been out of the house. Okay,
Interesting. Okay.
all right. 68 Shell Drive. Oh my God. Our poor friend Joe Chickleone is going nuts. He went before Conservation Commission. I believe Conservation Commission will probably allow him to do what he wants to do to put in a new driveway. But apparently the zoning board is not looking too kindly on some of the work he wants to do. So the whole application has been pushed off, and I believe he's coming back. Mr. Chickleone is coming back to the Zoning Board of Adjustment on April 22nd, and with revised plans. He hasn't yet given up the ghost and demolished our beautiful structure, the Nickerson home, but he's getting a little bit upset about the process. It's taking a long time, and I don't know what more to do. Everybody's aware. I think we've done everything we can do, but now we're in the midst of the zoning board and its authority on what they will or will not allow to happen. I'm hopeful that some kind of compromise can be reached, and Mr. Chickleone can continue to save our Nickerson homestead there. But if it goes south, we're probably going to lose that. Okay, 26 Cockle Cove. I see some activity down the street, and it looks like, as it says, the land was divided, and but nothing has been issued yet as of 3:30. So we can expect that something to happen there. As Michelle's indicated, the building permit for the new dwelling on the front light was issued, and the land was divided. Michelle, do you know when to build the new home up front, they have to take down the home?
I don't know that, Frank. I would have to check into that. You mean as far as zoning goes?
Yeah. In other words, they subdivided the thing to two
Well,
lots.
Yeah, so they divided the two lots, so my guess is that the one doesn't have anything to do with the other, but I would have to check and get back with you on that one.
Thank you.
You're
Michelle,
welcome.
you're doing a great job on this thing. I really appreciate it. We don't realize how much stuff we got going on here, but we do.
I'm
But I
happy to.
appreciate somebody knowing what's going on. Monomoy Theater is on hold. I guess Mr. Greg Clark is continuing to look at his options in terms of what kind of development he'll do on the property, but he has permission to demolish the three other ancillary structures and the house. Okay. Last thing I'd like to say before I shut up is that getting back in the game again, I'm going to ask Mr. Burlingame to reinitiate his efforts on the archaeological surveys of the Chatham cemeteries, which we've never done, never, and go back to Miss Donovan and ask them for additional funding so we could do that effort for Form Es for the cemeteries, as well as update our townwide archaeological survey Form Ds with the recent survey information of the Nickerson family dig and the Atwood. We kind of put that on hold with the both of those tasks with the because of the COVID, but I'd like to go back and get the ball rolling on that to see how much money we could squeeze out of the town of Chatham, and whether or not we want to go for a CPC application in 2022 to do that work. I think they're both worthwhile, and both of them have to be completed, or excuse me, the update has to be completed before we could take the action to request Mass Historical Commission to list the Nickerson family dig as a National Register site. I've talked out. We got 20 minutes before 4. Anybody have anything else to add or they'd like to bring up? Any member of the public would like to ask any comments or make any comments or ask any questions?
We're showing Stuart Green on the screen there. I don't know.
I got
Stuart's
Stuart and
up there.
Ellen. We got a couple of pops. And Miss Christ, which is a guest, or Mr. Christ, or Chris, sorry.
Oh,
Well, yeah, I'll step up and say something.
All right.
Hi.
Hello. And who are you, ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ellen Briggs, and I just want to applaud the commission for the work you're doing, and I've made copious notes. I'm very concerned about these houses that are up for demolition and trying to think what we can do in short order to stir some interest in saving them. So thank you for keeping me up to date on all this. It just takes a lot of people to step up and say, hey, wait, we need to save this. And major kudos to the Angus McLeod and to Shauna Reeves for that save. And I'm going to approach her and ask if she would like us to do a film on the restoration of that. There's some stories to it. So
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all very much for your work.
Yeah, Ellen, that's a great idea. As I indicated, people don't realize we always talk about Nickersons, Eldridge, but the Bassett family, who is far and wide in this town, and there are a number of Bassett cemeteries, and it's just worthy of restoration. And as I said, I drive past. There's 2 or 3 houses there, which are on that corner, which are almost adjacent to the town forest, and people don't realize that part of Chatham, that was Chatham for a long period of time. And everybody thinks it was Main Street, but there's a lot that happened there between Chatham and Harwich, as being a center, and especially that church that was on the corner, which is technically Harwich. So it is, it's an interesting part of town. And we kind of ignore it because it's on the highway. Well, thank you very much, Ellen.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay. Hearing none, I would love to have a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
I second, Jane.
Okay. We can't do it until we roll call it. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Ms. Porter,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Jane,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. We are hereby adjourned.